Hey guys, it's Phil. This is part 2 of the little tutorial on how I do my autumn basing. So as you can see here, I've primed what we did on part 1 in Mournfang Brown. If you haven't seen part 1, I'll put a link to click there if I remember, and if not, you'll see it in the playlist anyway. So yeah, we're going to go straight into what I do next. So let's move it to there. Okay, so the first thing I do once it's primed and it's all brown, if you've primed it black, just paint it with the coloured brown that you'd like to use. I use Mournfang Brown. You might want to use Dryad Bark or Steel Legion Drab. And then we take Dawnstone, or I take Dawnstone anyway, and I use this to pick out all of the rocks. So I hope this comes out on the camera okay. So I don't worry about neatness too much, just enough to kind of get the nice colour variation on the base there. It's a very warm Sunday morning at the moment when I'm filming this, so hope you're all having a good weekend, although this will probably go up on Monday, in which case I hope you all had a good weekend. And yeah, so you literally just, you can be really rough with this. That's all on camera, right? Yeah, okay. So just get any spots that you think would be kind of stone coloured. And again, neatness isn't super important at this point. So once all that is done there, where you've got all your grey down on your rocks, wash your brush off and leave it to dry, and then we'll come back after this is dried for the next step. Okay, so the colour of the grey of the colour is now dry, and I forgot how to English for a second there because I'm silly. So yeah, once your grey is dry, take your Agrax Earthshade like this, and you basically just liberally apply this over the entire base, over the rocks and the sand. So this will go in and it'll just define all of the rocks and add a lot of depth to the base and give it that nice muddy, dirty appearance. So that's cool. So just go as mad as you want, as much as you want, because it gives the rocks that nice slightly brown tone, which just helps get the colours you need. And that's basically all you do for that step. So once that's done, you can see that looks better already. You basically wash your brush off again and you leave that to dry, and then we'll come back again once that has dried. Whoosh! Okay, so when your wash is dry, as you can see there, the next step is to actually do some dry brushing. So for this one I'm going to use Flayed One Flesh. You can use whatever colour you like. I like Flayed One Flesh because it's a nice general sort of colour for raising up both the rocks and the sand, which is going to be your dust. So obviously you get that on your brush, you get a bit of tissue, and you just work it into the bristles like this till there's hardly any left on there, and then you go back to your base and just gently brush over like this, and you can see that picks out all the detail really nicely on the base there. So just do that a little bit till you're happy. Make sure you get it all. And then that gives you a really nice kind of basis to work from there. So you can see that looks really nice already. You might choose, if you wish, to just take it up a little bit brighter. This is completely optional. If you do so, I recommend a colour maybe like Pallid Witch Flesh, because it's still got a little bit of tone to it. It's not just a pure white. So then you kind of just run that on your piece of tissue paper again, just to get most of that off. You want even less than you did for the previous step. if you do this. So then you just literally do this. If I'm using that, I'll just do it mainly on the rocks rather than the sand here, just to give them a little bit more depth. So you can see that's given it a real nice appearance there. And that's basically all the painting stage complete. And then the next step is to add tufts and, if appropriate, any other parts that you want to do. So obviously this one's an autumn themed base, so we want autumny basing material. So the first thing I'd put down personally is some tufts, and I forgot to get my tufts out because I'm an idiot, so just bear with me a second. I use these ones, generally Army Painter Battlefield tufts. These ones are the mountain tufts, and they come in various sizes as you go down from small to huge down the length of the base, but you can use whatever tufts you want. These are a nice one for kind of an autumn base because they're not too bright. If you have ones that are a bit too green, it can kind of give it a little bit more of a summery spring appearance. So what I use here is just some normal super glue, and just apply the occasional dab. Just choose somewhere fairly natural, and my super glue is dried up, so I'm just going to poke a hole through the top of the lid there, and just stick a blob in. Yeah, that's coming out. Okay, stick a blob in there, and just choose a tuft and place it down. So you might want 1 or 2 tufts depending on the size of your base and how much detail you want on there. And then you can just go around and make sure it's pressed down nicely there, like that. I'm only going to use 1 here because I don't want to use all my tufts up on this sample base, but you might choose to just put them in key areas on your base. So already that's looking pretty cool. That's the tuft side of things, and we're nearly there now. So the next step I like to do is use this stuff, which is the kind of autumn clump foliage. I hope that's the right way up on the screen. So you just take a couple of pieces that you like the colours of. It's good to get ones of different colour, so I'm going to choose a couple of that colour there, and let's have that there, like that. So just break off a few of those, and then close your pot, and you can stick these down. Again, you can use super glue if you want them to stick a little bit better, or you can use your PVA glue, but then it takes a little bit longer. So again, just a spot of super glue. I think I didn't poke the hole through well enough because I'm silly. Okay, and try not to get super glue all over your fingers as well. That's usually good advice. There we go, that's coming out now. So just kind of wing it as you go as to what size pieces and what colours. It's good to put a few different colours next to each other to kind of make it nice and varied, and looks a bit more natural if you do it that way. And then I tend to go for recesses as well, places where things like dead leaves would catch. So between the rocks is usually a good kind of spot, and even on the edge, right on the edge of the base as well, just to help break up this shape if you've got a square base anyway. And a round base, that won't matter so much. So that gives you that nice kind of autumn appearance, and I think you don't want to overdo it. You don't want too much on there because you'll be putting down the dead leaves as well. So let's put the last few bits back in here, and I've knocked more out of the pot than I actually put into the pot because, again, I'm clumsy, super clumsy. So yeah, let's get that back in. Okay, and then finally, the last step, I've got this sort of like scatter stuff. I got this off eBay, I think. I'm not sure if it was particularly branded. It was just in like hobby auctions for scenic material. It's basically like dead leaves and little mini branches and stuff, which looks really nice. So what we do is, again, we take our little pot, which we put our PVA glue in before, and we just add a little bit of PVA glue here, just like that. I used too much last time, but there's a bit less this time there. And then we get our dodgy old glue brush, I tend to wet it a bit just to kind of help the glue flow a bit better off the brush here. And I just do a generous supply all over there, not over everything. You don't want to go too much on where you've done the rocks, and obviously you'll want to avoid your model's feet if you've got a model on the base at the time. This generally works better if you do have the model on the base. If you were to do this and then stick a model on afterwards, you're going to have to be a little bit careful about leaving gaps for the feet to sit. But yeah, just go fairly natural. You might choose in certain areas just to have a little bit of PVA glue over some of the rocks if you've got a large clump there, like that. Just choose something that looks fairly organic and not too square or like it's got a shape that's too defined. And then at the end you just sprinkle your mix directly on. So this one, like I say, it's got little kind of twigs in there and all sorts, like little branches. It gives you a nice natural mix of things. So just kind of tap that around. You might choose to do this over a piece of paper or two, just so you can catch the bits that come off, so you can put them back in your little bag. And then just, if you've got any areas that you've missed, just poke those in. You can press it down ever so lightly with your finger just to make sure that they're sitting properly in the glue. And then again, just give it a tap and make sure there's nothing along the edge where you don't want it, like this. So then we let the glue dry and we're almost there. So I'll come back when the glue has dried. Okay guys, so that's it. The glue's dried, or near enough as, damn it. So let's try and get it on camera. There you go, that's what the finished base looks like. Now what you'll probably want to do is just go around the rim with a certain colour. In this instance I'm going to use Dryad Bark just to go around and just finish the appearance off there. So just try and, normally you'd hold the model or something so you didn't like get this all over your fingers. So just go around and finish the base off, just to put the last finishing touches on there. And then when you're happy, just leave that to dry. So there you go, that's how I do my autumn bases. I think it's a really nice result for what isn't really that much work. If you just do it as you paint the model, it's quite a natural process and it doesn't add much time to the actual time it takes to get your model painted, and it's definitely worth it when you see the results looking like that. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this little tutorial, hope it was helpful to you, and if you want to see any more tutorials, let me know in the comments down below as to what you'd like to see. Maybe you'd want one for my Nurgle style bases, that's cool, or I can do snowy bases as well. Just post down in the comments below. Thanks for watching and I'll see you again soon. Bye!